As the maid poured wine and we prepared to dine, I knew I was feeling out of place at a table as large as a river bar, and I love you written all on your face. I appreciate your hospitality, but I wish that we would go.
One thing about it, you can never go wrong with John Conley and just being the common man. Good Saturday morning to everyone. Welcome in. This is Let's Talk Oconee, the radio program that goes inside the news. News you can use, and news, of course, that, well, you can throw away if you don't really care about it. Welcome in. I'm Jazzy Jeff along with Rannie Bond. Cathy will be joining us shortly. And by mysterious of technology, we're bringing in someone who is not with us in the studio today, and that is Mr. Rannie Bond. Rannie is with us. You've been visiting some Chinese officials today, is that correct?
Well, I tell you what, I certainly have had the China virus, but you forgot to mention that Chris Rowan's there in the studio.
Yeah, well, I was getting to him. He was very last because, you know, he's the man he's got this little toy over here, and it's time to get the show started. That has become a trademark of our radio program. And before we get started with everybody, I want to pass along that we now have a website, letstalkoconeesc.com. It's available. As I'm watching Randy popping bugs. I've got the communication here, Link. Were you slapping a bug?
Yeah, it was a gnat.
Was it one of those purring gnats?
Yeah, I would. You think it was? Turn around.
Anyway, Let's Talk Oconee SC. That is our new website. You can go there. We're on Facebook. Over 101 likes right now. That is more than the Oconee Free Beacon. Well, that's actually doubled of the Oconee Free Beacon, if I can explain. How about that?
I think it's great. And you know what? We're finding out people like the news, but they want to hear the truth. And that's why they tune in.
That's right. All right, Randy, I'm going to start with you to set the scene. You've got some interesting things coming up later on in our show that we're going to be discussing. And, of course, Thursday afternoon was it was a big moment in Oconee County Courthouse. And we'll talk a little bit more about what happened with the Matt Durnham court hearing. But you've got some stuff that you're going to share with us a little bit later on.
Yeah, you know, it's been a heck of a week in the paper with, I guess, something I said on the radio touched the nerve with the OCRP chairman. He thinks I called him racist. All I really did was read what he wrote in the paper. Then Jose jumps out there and, you know, he clears the air and says he is actually a Hispanic guy. And he's very, very proud of that. So, yeah, I want to dig deeper into that a little bit later on. But certainly interested in this planning stuff that Chris has got to talk about too, man. That's a big deal. I know he's been wanting to talk about it for a while. Just hope he can get through it without mentioning Woodruff Road.
Yeah. Okay. So what's important when we talk about planning? Mm-hmm. What you can see is things are getting much worse. You're seeing the politicization has actually paralyzed the Planning Commission and the county. And I wrote a letter to the editor in April because we started first getting indications of what was going on. And the one thing that we're finding more than anything else is we've got this OCC group that totally wants unfettered access to everything, nobody telling them what to do, and everybody talks about property rights. Okay, well, that's nice. That's emotional. Makes a lot of sense if you're trying to jazz up a groove. The problem is, in the end, and what's most important for the Oconee County citizens, when all is said and done, with this uncontrolled growth, no planning, infrastructure issues, etc., it's going to cost you money in taxes. I promise you. And the one thing, in fact, one of the OCC Planning Commission guys said that I was stupid when I mentioned Woodruff Road. And Randy likes to say something about it, but Woodruff Road in Greenville, they had better planning than we did. They're spending $121 million in tax dollars right now to try to do Band-Aids on that road, okay? So back when I wrote this letter, there was a planning leader, and Coley, and he said, and this is important, a subdivision was approved. And he said he couldn't decide, didn't know if it was actually able to be developed. Now think about that. A subdivision totally improved. You don't even know if it's developed. That tells you there's an issue, okay? Now, every one of these planning commissioners spoke out in the April timeframe, but when you hear that kind of stuff, what you're really hearing is it's really much deeper than that. So now we had this article that came out on Wednesday, on the 30th, and we talked about the number of subdivisions that is skyrocketing, okay? So this is what the chairman of the Planning Commission said. This county has a bullseye on it. Everybody and their brother comes here and buys the land, clear cuts it, totally scrapes off the topsoil, fills it back up with houses, cement, and pavement. All of it gets to be a problem for everybody that lives around it. We don't have enough police. We don't have enough emergency fire and EMS protection in this county to take care of the people we have now, much less all these subdivisions coming in.
Okay.
Now, when you look at this is really important. We are creating a monster that is going to cost you money. And I'm going to tell you, when you look at this, nobody likes the word zoning. But what we need to do, it is really easy. It's hard politically, but it's really easy. It's called urban planning. There's tons of consulting companies around the country that do this. They have these cities and these counties that have successfully managed more growth than we have because of planning. But if you're going to do that, you have to be very disciplined and you have to care. Because what is happening right now, I promise you, it is going to be much worse than anything you're reading in the newspaper, and you're going to be looking at double your taxes. It will happen no matter how much BS you get thrown at you by any group. I promise you, you're going to get clobbered, and I care, and I want you to know about it.
Rannie?
Well, Chris, what do you think we can do to thwart some of this extra tax cost as we move forward, or mitigate it at least?
I'm sorry, Randy, I missed that one now.
I said, how do you think we can mitigate some of the higher costs that are going to be associated with these subdivisions? Because they're going to be paying taxes when they get built, right? They're going to be contributing to the whole situation. So we should be able to grow by leaps and bounds.
Well,
our government,
right? But the thing is, where the real money is going to come in is when you have the infrastructure failures, and those are going to be like emergency funding. You're going to have to push. But here's what needs to happen. First of all, you look at this planning commission and look at these meetings, and you look at some of the people in the audience. Whenever they try to talk, you hear a couple, all they say is no property rights. Okay, guys, give me a break. That basically is just political talk, nothing. What they need to do is they need to get a reality check and basically say, hey, guys, and you're seeing it in the paper, we are in trouble. We need help. We need objective help. We should be looking at funding to have a urban planning company come in here, do a look down on the county and start planning. Okay, guys, explain to us where your infrastructure issues are. Explain to me what you're doing over here, and they will drive a plan. But here's the deal. You're going to spend money for this top-notch planning, and at the end of the day, what's going to happen? It's going to get to council. You're going to have a bunch of planning commissioners, a few that are going to be very outspoken, like, well, we're just going to hurt people and property rights, and people are going to start jumping up and down. You're going to take my land, which is total smoke, and you're going to paralyze it. And what's happening right now is like hopping onto a locomotive going about 30 miles an hour, speeding up to 100. It's very, very hard to get back to the point where you can do something. But something has to be done because this will be a crisis within at least a year.
Randy, guys, this has been a crisis for 25 years. Mm-hmm. Nothing's changed. The only way that you're ever going to change this situation is you have to put people on the planning commission that understands what's at stake and how to grow. Right now, you have people on the Planning Commission that is still stuck that Oconee County is in the 1970s, and we don't need to grow, and we don't want to take people's property. You have no development standards as it stands right
Absolutely.
now. None. You have zero. Now, the zoning that we have, which is citizen-initiated zoning, we have the lake overlay. Okay, lake overlay needs to stay intact. There's nothing wrong with that lake overlay. I like it. It's been there and it works. And it's been proven time and time again, that lake overlay. The mentality of it is that people listen to one or two people, then they get scared. Oh, did you hear what they said? They're going to come take my, I can't have a barrel in my backyard. No, that's not the case. It's misrepresentation of the facts. But it takes a planning commission that's willing to address and take a bold stand and say, wait, this is how we need to approach this subject and this issue, this infrastructure. The infrastructure we're still dealing with, again, goes back to the 1970s. Sewer was put in 1979. The Oconee County Sewer Commission was created. Therefore, Oconee has grown by leaps and bounds to the point now that we're still twiddling our thumbs on a sewer line going down to exit 1 and trying to bring poop back up the road to turn around and send it back down Lake Hartwell. Guys, I'm here to tell you, it would be simpler if you want to put sewer, build you a sewer plant down at exit 1 if you're wanting to create industry and jobs. Now we're seeing that all of a sudden that economic Golden Corners Commerce Park that's been sitting down there for the last 15 years that we spent all this money for, now it's back into focus. But overnight, you're not going to fix these issues until you have people put into the planning commission that is willing to go out on a limb and take a stab.
Well, until you have, this is my thing about the sewer, until you have ink to paper industry wanting to come into the county, you do not start building sewer in hopes that someone is coming to build.
Well, yes and no, but in this day and age, businesses and corporations are looking to have that infrastructure there. That's a fact. If the infrastructure is not there and they come in and they like the piece of property, they're asking the question, okay, do you have infrastructure? Do you have power? Do you have water? Do you have sewer? And here's the big thing right now. Companies are looking at IT infrastructure. Well, we have a broadband fiber all through the county. That's for another show. I'll want to get into that later on another show. But these are businesses that are coming in looking at what we have. And when they find out you don't have sewer here, water?
They go next door.
They go next door. And they go right into Anderson County. We've seen that happen. That just happened several months ago with a organization that was coming to Oconee that wanted to build here. But guess what? We didn't have it. Randy, did you have a comment real quickly?
Yeah, I was just looking at the August 30th headline there. Bullseye on the subdivisions are on the rise in Oconee County. But by the numbers from 2019 to 2021, they've only approved 1,060 units. Is that really a crisis?
Right now in Oconee County, yes, to me that is a crisis because the lack of infrastructure. I mean, our emergency services is a prime example. They are running themselves to death right now. They don't have enough paramedics on the streets. We don't have enough firefighters. We're running all over the county. That 1,000 people, you got to understand that 1,000 people or 1,000 applications can at least contribute to 2,000 to 3,000 more people in the county, even more. There's one subdivision right now that potentially could bring 19 homes on the lake, but time that you put 19 homes at 2 cars each on a little road that barely can pass boats and cars, you've got an issue.
Right.
So, yeah, it is creating, in certain parts of Oconee, it is creating a crisis. Seneca is a prime example.
Well, okay, but Randy, here's the thing.
Think schools, teachers, and buses as well.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you got to read between the lines of what you're hearing from these planning commissioners in April. Now you have the planning leader, and then you have an OCC leader that condescendingly says, people are panicking. These guys would not be talking out like this unless they were scared and things were bad. And you can smell it. And for every one of these subdivisions you see in the paper, I can guarantee you there's a hell of a lot more in the background lurking, waiting to close out these deals. And Jeff made a good point about the lake overlay. Hey, guys, nobody cares about that. That's protected. Where the problem is out in the farmland and all these areas where we have all the wolves looking at what they're going to do. And the next thing you know, you're going to see these high-density areas grow up. And then as soon as that happens and everybody's using their toilets at one time, you're going to start having infrastructure breakage. That's what's going to happen. Somebody's got to fix it. It's not free.
Well, I know you, Chris, that you're pretty passionate about that, but Jeff, don't you have a segment with Hank Johnson that we can listen to?
With who?
With Representative Johnson.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, I had forgot about that because I think that could go into our break.
Oh,
yes.
Yes.
I forgot about that. Yes, you're talking about Senator Hank Johnson from Georgia talking about he was very concerned about so many people coming that he thought that the island would tip over. I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and set this up. We'll go ahead and play this. We'll go to break. Don't forget, Let's Talk Oconee. Rannie Bond, Cathy, Chris, Jazzy, Jeff, we're in studio. Let'sTalkOconeeSC.com is our website. And I'm even going to give you a telephone number when we come back because we have a number where you can call and leave top secret information for any one of us. Right now, let's give this a listen. This is well worth the weight in gold here. So here it goes. Here is Representative Hank Johnson and the flipping of Guam. Will it capsize? So here we go. Let's give this a listen.
That at its widest level is 12 miles from shore to shore, and at its smallest level or smallest location, it's 7 miles between one shore and the other. Is that correct?
I don't have the exact dimensions, but to your point, sir, I think Guam is a small island.
Very small island, and about 24 miles, if I recall, long. So 24 miles long, about 7 miles wide at the least widest place on the island, and about 12 miles wide on the widest part of the island. And I don't know how many square miles that is. Do you happen to know?
I don't have that figure with me, sir. I can certainly supply it to you if you'd like.
Yeah, my fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
We don't anticipate that.
I got to say, I'm impressed with the Admiral Robert Will.
I was pouring out my troubles to a stranger in a bar. About the problem.
You know, April 2023 is going to be a long time. Back with you here on Let's Talk Oconee SC Facebook website. And I'm going to give you a number where you can call shortly. Oh, you hear the hotline in the background. Oh, there's a photo. I'll tell you what, we're having fun this afternoon. Actually, this morning, I'm still in La La Land. Chris, we got a salute we got to do on the show here. Who we saluting? Is it Tommy what?
Tommy James.
Well, now, Tommy does what now?
He's insurance. He's actually the best guy I ever worked with, and I want to do a shout out for him. And here I go.
Those shout outs are not going to get anybody fired, are they? You know, the last time we were doing a show, David Dowell got fired, and because he was allegedly in the studio and he never was. So
I was just.
I mean, did you see Randy? Was David in here? He wasn't. I didn't see him. Did you?
No, I had no idea that he was even around.
I didn't either.
I saw
Kathy?
somebody looking in the window,
No,
but I didn't recognize
I've never met the man. That's news to me. So
Yeah. Well, I just
never met any of these folks.
yeah.
Just
All
read
right.
the paper.
Let's finish up our conversation. We're talking about planning, and then we got to talk about abortion because Rannie's got to have this last segment, which is going to be probably one of the biggest radio segments in the history of Oconee County radio, and it'll be coming up here shortly for you. So take it away, guys.
Okay, so,
Gals.
to sum this up, right now this county's paralyzed. We know we're heading for a cliff on this, and I can tell you truly, citizens, it's going to be you that's going to be paying for all the infrastructure issues that we're going to see based on people just saying, no, no, no. It's easy to fix. Politically, it's tough, but it's easy. When you do not have the expertise, which I did on a lot of things when I was working, you get the people to do. People like urban planners. And we had a saying where I worked, because things move so fast, you have to make decisions. And basically the motto is, when you don't know what to do, you do what's right. And we're not doing what's right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Time now for Cathy. It's time for your update. Let us know what's happening. And I know that things are happening wild and crazy down in that south part I like to call Columbia, which is hell. That is the pits of hell, by the way. Columbia is. But, yeah, what's happening?
Well, the House has passed an abortion ban. So the next thing, it moves to the Senate. They passed a near total ban. The exceptions are rape and incest, and the life of the mother, up to 12 weeks with the rape and incest, and the doctor or the victim has to report to the police. So the issues with that are, if anyone's, again, I've encouraged everyone to watch the testimony, because doctors and attorneys have explained this. The issue with that, and has been the sticking point all along, is HIPAA. If anybody's gone to the doctor and you've signed all the paperwork, is your privacy. If you have gone to the doctor, they give you all the information. What goes on at the doctor's office is supposed to be between you and your doctor. Your medical information is supposed to be private. Now, with this law, if it passes, if you're a victim, that's going to be between you, your doctor, and law enforcement, which I don't know what you guys think about that, but I would take issue with that if I were a victim of a crime.
Well, I'd put myself in that position. I say, yeah, I would take issue with that.
Yeah, that's it's bad enough to be a victim, be violated, and then you have to choose whether or not you want help or you want to. I don't know. I'm without words on that one. But that's what they've decided. And it also, the other thing is 12 weeks. So if you have a child or a young lady that becomes a victim and it's past 12 weeks, I guess she's just out of luck. That's the way I'm reading it. So that's where we're at with that. And it goes to the Senate on the 6th. And it's a Republican majority, and I'm expecting it to pass, and I think it's sad.
Let me give you just a quick perspective, and I've said this, but I want to be very adamant about it. When you look at this, what is happening is people do not have empathy for others. First of all, it is a woman's right to decide whatever she decides medically, just like a guy. Secondly, I'm going to give you a perspective of a conversation I had with an acquaintance this week. This is a very, very sensitive subject. So we started talking about abortion. And they said, oh, yeah, you support abortion. Yeah, basically like if you have the baby, then you look at the baby, you don't want it, you can kill it. And I didn't think I heard it right. And I actually said, what did you say? He said, well, yeah, that's how you all are. I said, that is the stupidest thing I ever heard. And it is. Think about that. Okay?
It's ridiculous.
And then I talked about something, and people need to think about their family if they were in this position, because this is what these guys are doing. When you look at it, in this woman in Louisiana, she was having a baby. She was pregnant. She had to get a lawyer to be able to go to another state to have an abortion. Her baby was in her womb and forming without a skull. So it was going to be dead. And I mentioned this, and the guy said, well, medicine changes all the time. Maybe they could save it. I said, the woman's baby doesn't. Are you serious? So
it's called a neural tube defect. That's what all the medical advancement has been. That's why they do these screenings early on. It's a neural tube defect. And also, some anti-seizure medications cause these neural tube defects. So now, with this law, there's no exception for fetal anomaly. So women who have a seizure disorder will be forced to carry these children with neural tube defects or have seizures their entire pregnancy, which also endangers them and their children. So we're going to have a population, if this law passes, of possibly either children dying shortly after birth or being stillborn, or you're going to have a population of severely handicapped children, which if you look at the way Republicans vote, and here again, it's neither here nor there if you're Republican, but if you just look at the records, they vote against mothers, children, and handicapped people. That's the record. We're not a good state for disabled people or disabled children. So my question would be to all these people voting for this, are you going to support these people that you are forcing to come into this world? What is the plan? Because that's what's going to happen with this.
No, they won't. Because it's not happening to them. But at the end of the day, remember, what's going to matter is voting in November.
Randy, you got a comment?
Yeah, I think that, Cathy, you're absolutely right. What are we going to do to support these folks through all this? And it was really great that the Supreme Court has given this back to the state, and the state gets an opportunity to work it out. But I'm holding out that the right thing's going to be done. I believe that Senator Alexander and the folks down there have a heart, and they have morals, and they're going to do the right thing by the mothers and the children and the unborn. And, it'll be a sad day if they can't be doing it right for everyone. So we've got the technology, we've got the time, we've got the expertise all around them. So hopefully they're going to make the right decision.
Well, I can tell you that our particular representative voted his conscience, which he doesn't believe in any kind of exceptions. So he hasn't considered anything. And I know several people who have written him and given him all the facts regarding fetal anomaly.
I just
with
wonder,
supporting information, and it's ignored.
I just wonder, Cathy, if the roles were reversed, and they had a family member that was pregnant and had issues, and unfortunately we know that if the baby's born, it's not going to it's going to be severely. I wonder how they would react. Because,
you do wonder.
Because you can't. They can sit here all day and say this, and this. This is how they're. But when it comes right down to it, you really don't know what you would do until you were put in that position.
Right.
And if you were put in that position to choose something of the sort to save the woman's life, and it seems like to me that we're making this more complicated than it has to be.
Exactly. It seems like it should be something left up to families, which is what it was prior to this being overturned. That's why people have devoted their lives to making these tests, so that they could do these genetic tests and say, hey, there's something profoundly wrong.
I've said this before, when the government gets involved is when we're all screwed up.
Okay, so I wanna make sure I can just get this comment in before we roll over to something else. Everybody knows Cathy and I and Randy and Jeff were all good friends, and we can disagree. Mm-hmm. Okay, so when I look at all this, what it is these people are being cruel. Okay, they're being cruel. When you think of the emotional trauma and whatever, it's horrible. Randy made a statement about he thought it was right coming back to states. I disagree. It needs to be done at the federal level. And if you think not, look what happened with civil rights. Look what happened back in '65 before the Civil Rights Act was passed. That was the only way we got the equality whatever we have of it in this country because the feds force it. States' rights, God knows where we would have been. It needs to go back. It needs to actually be in the Constitution. It needs to be protected, and that's what we need to do when we vote in November.
Okay, fair enough. Any other, Randy, final comments on that?
Well, I guess we'll have to see what happens with all the states and what they do. And, we got that convention of states thing that's looming out there. Maybe that right there will be one of the things that comes out of it for you, Chris.
An interesting question. When was the last time that the states convened? That they got together? I'm interested. That'd be an interesting question. When was the last time that the states got together? I'm not even sure the states could get together on anything right now. That's just the way it seems. All right, it is here the segment number 2 here. Right now we have what we're going to do real quickly. We need to go ahead and take a break because I know this next segment here on the final portion is going to run a little bit long because we've got so much to talk about. I was just skimming through the headlines here, and of course, front page of our local paper yesterday, I should say. Of course, the Oconee GOP absolutely off the rails. I can't wait to have this discussion because there's more components to just that. And Raney, we're going to turn that one over to you coming up here in just a few moments.
And it's going to be wild.
Hey, real quick, Jeff.
Yes.
Real quick, 1946, that was the last convention of the state.
And what did they get together? What were they trying to do in 1946?
Oh, I don't know. I just Googled.
Well, hey, man, I got a bigger state than you do. Oh, no, you don't. I got a better one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, no. I got no clue.
Are you going to put a toll road in? I don't know. I heard about them. They're new.
No, they were trying to.
You got to make sure you keep that in.
Yeah, I am. I plan on it. It's not going anywhere. Have you found out yet, there, Randy?
No, I wasn't that interested.
All right. Don't forget OconeeTalkSC.com. That is our website. I promise to give you that phone number because I really would love to hear from you. I know that the OCC is desperately dying. Maybe I'll let them sponsor our guest line. Sponsored by the OCC.
Oh, I would love that.
I think that's a great idea.
Cathy, what do you think? Randy, wouldn't it be great?
Wouldn't it be great? They sponsor the Let's Talk Oconee line by the OCC.
Absolutely. They could defend their issues then.
Yeah, what issues?
Well, I'm just saying, if you feel strongly, you want everybody to do it.
Put out
excuse me, Randy had to sneeze, by the way.
Daddy COVID's killing me. But if anybody wants to sponsor the Republican Party, remember, send your checks to P.O. Box 25, Seneca, South Carolina, and mention the show on your check.
Mention the show on your check. All right, more coming up here as we go to segment number 3 here of Let's Talk OconeeSC.com. That's your website. Check us out.
A he-man, do it just for me, man, knew just what to do. Thought I was a hero, she rated me a 0, said, honey child, you ain't through. I said, stand up, have you ever been there, stand up.
Well, Thursday afternoon, they were standing up and identifying in the Oconee County Courthouse. We've got details on that coming up in just moments. Raney, we also want to pass along that Jim Mann is still asking for folks who wants to be a part. Go ahead and explain everything about what Jim's working on.
So Jim's had a really good turnout as far as emails and phone calls since our last show. We really appreciate our callers calling in and appreciate that they continue to do that. His email address is I don't know what it is, but anyways, we'll post it on the Facebook site. And but the big news is that the next school board meeting on the 12th of September, he wants to address the school board again and he wants to have as many concerned parents and teachers as he can in the audience. So if we can all get out there and support him, that would be wonderful.
Yep, and next week on the show, I still want to do the thing about the books. I postponed it this week because we've got so much to get to, but we'll have a segment next week about the books. Telephone number, by the way, if you want to call and talk or leave a message on our hotline. All the calls that we receive are confidential, and we want to hear your news or comments. The number is 864-973-7559. That's 864-973-7559. And coming soon, each individual one of our show hosts will have their own email address. First, let me give you mine. It's jazzyjeff@letstalkoconeesc.com. It's jazzyjeff@letstalkoconeesc.com. And, of course, our website, as we gave it to you earlier, letstalkoconeesc.com. And now, my friends, one other news and notes from Oconee News. It's wonderful to hear that Chris Smith is coming back. Chris was the former Westminster fire chief. He is taking the county fire job, and I believe he's supposed to start next after Tuesday, I believe his first day. He comes back from West Columbia. He served the Westminster Fire Department for several years back in 2012. Left, and he's returning back home. Chris is a wonderful guy, and I think the county made the right decision in getting him hired. So,
great.
Good job there. Rannie, it is all yours, my friend, and it's been a really weird week with what's going on. I want to start off the conversation first that, of course, Thursday afternoon. Now, was this the second appearance of I think it's the second appearance that suspended Councilman Matt Durnham had in Oconee County Court. And, of course, we've talked about that numerous times. But things kind of didn't go his way, Randy.
Yeah, I guess not. I saw he had a lot of support from the chairman of the Republican Party there on the bench with him. It seems like all the motions were denied, and the state's ready to move forward with their prosecution. Sooner the better, I guess. Let's get this stuff over with and get us a District 2 some representation so that we don't get stuck with a budget that gets hung because they ain't got a majority.
Well, that's correct, and that's one of the biggest concerns I have when we move into January. Right now, with Matt being suspended, you have 4 council members, so technically there is no majority. And you have to elect a chairman at each individual change of the year, first of the year. So this is potentially where Oconee could hurt. We go into January, we have Glenn Hart, Don Mize, John Elliott, and Julian Davis. We can't elect a chairman. Therefore, we have no chairman. That means business doesn't get conducted because you really don't. If you come into a tie, you have a problem. And that's going to be moving forward into April 2023 is what they're guesstimating that all of this is going to come out when the trial actually happens. So you're going through some real interesting times with budgeting and planning starting in March, April, May, on into you start your voting in June and July. So here's the deal. If this doesn't get addressed, or let's just say by a remote possibility, the governor steps in and appoints someone to represent District 2, we could be facing some interesting challenges to start 2023. Has it happened before? In Oconee County history politics, we have had a situation where the governor did allow someone to come in, and when we were the council supervisor form of government, when the former supervisor was arrested, her name was Ann Hughes at the time, the governor did allow a representation of an interim, which was former principal and retired educator Harry Hamilton. Is there something, or can we do something to help curb that? Because right now, basically, District 2, the Walhalla area, they have no representation right now. And there's no one representing them.
They ought to be appointing somebody now. This is horrible for them.
I know. There is no representation. So,
if Matt Durnham cared, if Matt Durnham actually cared
Mm-hmm.
about the people of his, he would resign and let there be a special election and get the representation to the people. And if he got out of this thing and he comes out and he's not convicted or whatever, he'd be free to run again.
Well, that's
And-
what I had said all along, and people think that that I've been told that's hateful. I'm against his family. This I don't know them. I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't have anything against them personally. But when you're having issues, personally, and you're having issues legally, that's the thing to do. You just step away, and then when you get that all straightened out, then you come back. That's the thing to do.
If you are any kind of person or a man, I think you step aside, you let the law take its course. You're innocent until proven guilty. We know that. That is, I'm a firm believer in that. But I'm also a firm believer in that you are suspended. You should and you cannot conduct county business.
The thing about it is, I saw Riley Morningstar's tweets that came out, and I saw the picture that the Journal has posted of Mr. McMahon and Mr. Durham sitting there all cozy on the bench. But just looking at him and trying to see, you just read the two. They look completely battered, beat down, and worn out.
It does. It looks like it's a picture that is bad.
I mean, McMahon has these Nancy Pelosi bags under his eyes.
Come on.
Terrible. And neither one of them look like my girl AOC. None of them. I mean, they're not fresh and vibrant and nice looking. I mean, they look worn out.
I looked in the picture that you're right. But seriously, I'm being serious now. The picture that I looked at in Matt Durnham, the picture told me a lot. It told me that as a man, he's beat. He's worn out. He's fighting
but
for.
He still has no ability to show humility in this situation.
But why is it?
I've got to agree. Randy, you're right.
Yeah, but
you're
why?
Right.
Why is it McMahon? He's the chairman of the party. Why isn't he saying, "Okay, Matt"? I mean, if it was my councilman, I'd say, I got to get representation. But if it's not happening, the chairman of the OCRP ought to be saying, "Hey, listen, we got to do this for the good of District 2. Otherwise, they have nothing."
Fire siren.
All right. Hold on. I'm right. I'm going to handle it. I love doing that.
I think Chris hits a home run.
Thank you.
No, absolutely. And since Durham and McMahon are always wanting to be seen together, why can't they just draft up the joint resignation letter?
Well,
both of them resign and just get out of this stuff and let the county heal.
You know why? Rannie was a Master Chief in the Navy. Very. But that's to get that position. It's mature leadership. You make the hard decisions. It's like a game to these guys. It's like we do this. You know what, guys? Do what's right. Do what's right for the Oconee citizens. Forget this crap that's going on. Sorry, but that's just the way I feel. I got friends in District 2, and I think it's bad for them.
So I've got a friend that's been around this thing for a long time in the county, and one of the things that he told me earlier today was that these guys are trying to play checkers. They're trying to play checkers with the chess master, and they're just messing it all up.
Rainey, I've got some breaking news that's just been texted to me real quick. There is actually now a petition. There is a petition. Oconee County District 2 deserves representation. And this is from change.org. We believe, regardless of the political stance, Oconee County District 2 deserves representation. In light of the recent indictment and suspension of District 2 County Councilman Matthew Durnham, more recently the announcement of his final court date of April 2023, the district has no vote on county council and won't for at least another 8 months. Changes that affect our district are happen rapidly, and we deserve to have a council member at the table who can represent our needs. It's only fair for Mr. Durnham to resign from his post and allow for a special election so the district can elect a representative. And I will not mention the name of the person starting this, but bless her heart, it is to the point of what she says. What we just got through saying,
Right.
It's exactly what we just said. Somebody else down Oconee County is.
And that's nothing against Matt Durnham.
4 have just signed it in just the last 10 seconds.
Good.
5. I'm signing it down.
That's
I
6.
can't sign it, but you know.
But anyway,
But
that's
for
huge.
real though, this saga has been going on for a year now, and we still don't know who shot JR.
And the problem is we may never know who shot JR.
Well, and the thing about it is they can set the court date, and with the court being backed up, anything can happen. There could be some other crime that takes precedent over that. Anything could happen. That could get backed up. You have no idea.
Well, think about just what he said. It could paralyze the county.
Yeah, it could.
It is
potentially.
paralyzing the county.
It will paralyze. Come January of 2023, the county will be paralyzed. There cannot be decisions made that affect if it's a 2-2 vote. There's no one there to break a tie. You don't have a chairman.
Hey, can we just go back to Riley Morningstar's tweets from earlier today?
Sure, go ahead.
So it said here in the tweets that there's a death penalty case in February that's already there, and that's what's preventing them from trying him any sooner. And, the docket's full. There's a lot of crime in this county. So what I really liked was at Riley Morningstar's tweet said here, the motion for a speedy trial, McIntosh told defense attorney Keith Denny to move on after he tried to dispute the ruling. It sounds to me like the judge is already frustrated with these folks and tired of the bullshit. So why don't these people just do the right thing, resign, get out of the limelight, fix your family, and then come back sometime down the road?
Exactly. Well, Randy, we want to go ahead and jump into the big portion here. I'm giving you about 8.5. If you need a little bit more, we'll give you. But of course, if you've been following the Journal, there's been some conversations of topics concerning. How do you describe this, Randy?
Well, I tell you what, most of this is virtue signaling coming from David McMahon about how he's always the victim of everything. Nothing's ever his fault, and everybody's out to get him. Back earlier in the year, there was this guy, Rudyard Kipling, or Rutland Kipyard, and he wrote a letter to the editor called Go Eat Worms. And he said here, back then I don't remember what was going on, but it said, woe is me, there's no rebellion actually afoot in the Republican Party. It just boiled down to basic customer service failures. And it's like that when this OCC takeover started, this guy's talking about someone read half a book on how to take over a group. They did it, and then they just abandoned all the books they had. They didn't read any further. There was a time, this guy goes on to say, to rebuild the party with inclusiveness that would bind a stronger party than ever, except that the olive branch the OCC handed out there to everybody was more like a holly bush full of thorns. I'm paraphrasing all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They abandoned the Seneca family restaurant breakfast, and they had no willingness toward having general membership meetings. Inadequate offerings to the Republican Party members do not make the apprehensive ones rebels or rhinos. Rather, that was just one stumbling block toward the failure of the OCRP. But this has been going on for a while now, and when David Dial left the party or left the leadership role in the party, it seems like that was just one more nail in the coffin. I'm real sorry, David, that I got you fired. I didn't call David McMahon a racist. I went back 3 times and read that, and I've listened to it, and I never said that. What I said was the Journal reported that he said that Jose was not from this country, and he had only been a Republican since 2020.
Well, I'm sorry too, Randy, that we got him fired as the treasurer because allegedly he was on this radio show and he's never stepped foot in the studio.
I've never met him.
But
I was baffled.
Then it gets worse. It
Yes.
gets worse that David McMahon, I don't know, the grand poobah of the Republican Party,
The Messiah.
that's left, it said that, I was wrong by saying that he got rid of that guy because of the color of his skin. He said that Jose's a white guy. It said that there's no way that he's a good guy because he's a white guy. I mean, ain't good guys of color?
Randy, let me interject. So here's the thing that's really weird. Come on, call me jaded. So do you really think, and I'm just asking, do you really think McMahon thought Dial was on this show? And by the way, just asking, who took over as treasurer?
No, I don't think so either. But I'm gonna finish up this little bit about rebutting the statement that McMahon said. He said, Jose comes out in the paper and said he's a proud Hispanic man. He's from Bolivia. He's a hard worker. He believes in all the Republican values, and that's what turned him on and why he wanted to become a Republican. Hard work, pro-life, pro-God. I mean, he's a real good person. And for McMahon to be out there, embarrassing himself to the party and offending poor Jose with what he's got to say, I mean, that's just terrible. So, but you're right, Chris. I think they just used that as an opportunity to get rid of David Dial so that they could move Mickey Haney and his immaculate budgeting skills over to the treasurer role, OCCRP. And then they brought this David Nick, the planning guy from Garden of Eden. Now he's the secretary. Hopefully the minutes will be legible from here on out.
So basically, we have more OCC in leadership of the OCRP.
Oh, everybody else has left. There's nobody.
There's nobody in there.
Well, they brag about replacing everybody, all the rhinos. I mean, come on, guys.
How many? Let me ask this, Randy. How many people have actually on their own resigned? 10, 15, 20?
Yeah, there's been, the ones that he didn't run off for fire, that left on their own. Anybody that had a moral compass, that or any reasoning skills whatsoever left the party and moved over to the men's group or the women's group.
Right.
And them things are thriving. They're doing great.
Well, they put together a great program. What was it, the end of May or June, right before the primary at Chowround Park? Well put together. I thought so, and combined forces. When you walk into a meeting and you talk and everyone's, I have yet to still get a call from, I still haven't got my debate. I mean, that really bothered me still, is being promised something. For the first time in history, a District 3 did not have a debate. I mean, come on now, no debate. There was none between Don and I. It was just like, ASAP missing in action, part of the political process. We've always had some sort of a debate. And I can assure you one thing, and I want to tip off here to you guys now, coming up for this school board, we are going to have a debate for school board.
Well,
That's a fact.
People should be able to find out what the candidates are about. That it should be open forum. There should be a debate. You should be able to find out what the people running are all about. You should know their values. You should know what they represent, what they plan to do.
Right, I agree. I wanna go back and ask one question with Randy. So all this stuff that's going on with McMahon, but maybe I'm more sensitive to it. But back in March, when the Republican Men's Club came up, he had that backhanded comment about Jose. Well, he's not from this country. Now, if I was jaded, I'd probably say, well, I know what he's doing. He's appealing to the issues around immigration for some cheap political gain. So what is happening is you see this progression, is you see it becoming bolder and bolder and bolder. But at least he's showing his hand, and we know exactly how he feels.
What I have issue with, and I'm not Republican. I'm not a Democrat either. I'm not party affiliated. What I do wonder and what I find concerning is the move away from all other Republicans, because this group that they have seems to like to slander or badmouth, or however you want to put it, every other Republican elected official locally. You know, when this trial comes up, then the solicitor, who is a Republican, is dirty. The AG is dirty.
The governor's
the
dirty.
governor
Was
himself of the state of South Carolina is dirty and does not deserve respect.
It's like these
to me,
people are operating above the law.
To me, that says you yourself do not belong in the Republican Party, because you don't believe that these people hold the same values as you.
Okay,
so
last week
that's just my thought.
Last week we said it best. What do you define the OCC? It's a cult.
Right. Well, here's the thing, and Cathy, you're absolutely right. And I'm going to bring this up. On July the 28th, at the steering committee meeting, Mickey Haney made a motion to remove me from my executive committeeman role for representing Long Creek, and because I was using my First Amendment rights of free speech to articulate to that chairman that I thought that his support of Matt Durnham was atrocious. And I wrote him a personal letter. You know, I didn't send an email, I didn't call him, I didn't put it on Facebook, but I took the time to write that man a letter back in May. And he didn't have the fortitude or the wherewithal or whatever he needed to respond to me until I called the paper and said, hey, can you put this in the paper so the guy can see it? He hadn't even probably checked the mail in 3 weeks. So then, after this motion to remove me died 9-0, according to these minutes I got, the next day, while I was at the Republican State Convention representing Oconee County with 7 other people, we had 14 spots, but they can only muster 7 to go. I mean, they got 450 people to come out to the convention to remove old Bill Jerome. But I guess they can't get nobody to support the party now, and that's evident right there. But I get this email that says, Executive Committeeman Rannie Bond, I'm writing this email to you in response to your letter dated May 14th that you sent to me, the Journal, and Drew McKissick. You have identified yourself as a committeeman of the Oconee County Republican Party in this letter, where you inference and suggestions that fellow committeeman Matt Durnham is guilty of a crime, and that he also coincides with your relentless attacks of the committeeman Matt Durnham on social media, on the Daily and the Daily Journal. Man, his grammar's so bad. You making claims as fact Matt Durnham is a white. I'm going to tell you what, David McMahon, you better show me that in writing. I'm going to eat your ass for slander. And your latest attack on the Oconee County Republican Party itself is the basis of this letter. Committeeman Bond, unless you were present at the crime scene and witnessed the crime and are willing to sign an official witness statement, you, sir, have no evidence, which also means you have no facts. Well, I'm going to tell you, David, you've got no facts, and I called that guy a white beater, and I didn't call you a racist. If I said something that triggered a feeling and it caused you to think you're a racist, maybe, just maybe, you should go to church.
Wow.
Can I say?
We got to start wrapping it up.
I know.
Go ahead.
I promise this is quick.
Okay.
So, Randy, you said something that was important. You talked about they could only muster 7, correct?
That's right.
Okay. So think about this. That Republican men's group just started, and their first meeting had over 100 people. Okay? So
yeah,
think of that.
140.
So when you think about that, but he's from another country. Oh, well, what is that? You know, was it Hispanic? No, it was people that were loyal to our country, and they believed in diversity, and they believed in honor. That is why everybody is gravitating to that group.
You know, I could be from Neary. Is that another country? Some folks think it is.
But this guy is only wanting to deflect the blame for everything else to other people.
I know.
And every
All of them.
damn tactic that the Democrats have ever used, this guy is bringing into the Republican Party. And people need to wake up and know that this guy is not asleep at the wheel. He came to destroy the Republican Party.
Well, here,
Period.
like I said, back to what I said, they don't even like the Republicans, though. So why not just start their own party? That was my point.
Right. So Jeff, I was trying to put a muzzle on because I only need 5 seconds. Randy's making a good point.
It's great.
But there's a reason why I'm a Democrat now after my first vote for Nixon. It's for this crap that you're seeing and this kind of, they're attacking me, whatever. You know, guys, do what's right. You know, there's a reason why people are leaving. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Rannie, final thoughts from you before we close this show out.
Well, y'all just pray for me because I got the COVID.
No, you got the China. Remember, you got the China virus.
And I don't know if one of them OCC folks didn't get it to me.
Well, you got to be careful now. Make sure you put your safety chains unattached because it is Labor Day weekend, y'all. So if you're going to the lake, it's very important, I'm telling you, to make sure that you put safety chains on your back of your truck.
Hey, one other thing I want to throw out there, Daniel Holland, the diversity trainer for the sheriff's office, I'd like to know how that's going. He's only been there about a year. But if anybody's got anything they want to say about how good a job that's going, I'd love to hear from them.
Right. Not only that, what about what Mulder did with Seneca to make his teams work better together? But then it was put into Willie, where the new councilman liked the post where the guy disagreed. So that tells me right away, diversity's here. It makes our country great, period.
All right, don't forget, you can listen to Let's Talk every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. on Lake Keowee Radio Online and on social media as well. Visit our website. It's LakeKeeweeRadioOnline.com or the Let's Talk OconeeSC.com. There is the other website. Again, telephone number, if you want to leave breaking news, it's 864-973-7559. For Rannie, for Cathy, for Chris, we will see you next Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Have a great Labor Day weekend. So long, everybody.